Hi, folks, it's Adrian CryptoBirb speaking, and welcome to another episode of the Nestro podcast. It's been a while since we actually, had the properly running, stream of those podcasts. To be honest, before on the latest episode, actually, I was just having this pleasure of having Scott Melker. Today, we have not even less excitement going on because my great true friend and the person who I truly admire in terms of technical analysis, in terms of trading concepts. Well, long story short, Big Cheds is here with us on today's episode of the Nest Show podcast. Big Cheds, aka Chats, Big Chats. I think you can use that interchangeably, gauging on Twitter and gauging of the nicknames flying around on the internet. Not many of you may know Chats have become insanely popular after a series of amazing predictions that actually came true over the last couple of weeks, couple of months. So huge points to be discussed. Also today, I'm super curious about that and interested myself. Best-selling author for trading wisdom. His book, discussing trading. We had several discussions before about this very book. Perhaps we can touch upon this one as well as we go today. We also are good friends on a similar path of the CMT path as a chart and market technician. What can I say? Big chats, big respect, big chats. What's up, buddy?
Hey man, that's a wonderful introduction. I hope to live up to those kind words. We do these, every few months, and it's always a great conversation. I often kind of go back and watch them occasionally. I think they're really fun. I know me, you, and Melker did one back at the 80-day rectangle, like June, July
Yeah,
2020, 21. That was cool.
yeah.
I think people want to know like what's up with the market. So it'd be fun for us to kind of play around with that and see, what we can come up with here. So thank you, man.
True.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
True. Yeah, couldn't agree more. That was rough time, back then when we were actually just hovering down around $30,000. And guess what? We actually made it for a circle back to these areas, right? So it's going to be quite an interesting talk because we are going to start off and kick off, if that's fine with you, buddy, with your kind of like view standpoint on the technical summary, if you will, through 2021. How would you, to start off, kind of like describe 2021? How was it for you?
2021 was awesome for me. I tell you, I learned a lot. There were times of despair. There were times of hope. It was fun to see people, everyone. It was like a washing machine where it keeps going around in circles, and people kind of went through the ringer. And I think it was interesting. There were new characters that came to the scene. Big accounts, new big accounts, and really we were all in it together. And I think the big takeaways were still here. Crypto. The longer we're around, the more likely it is to be there for us in the future. So I like that. I love what I do. I love being part of the community. So, um, you know, technically, I mean, it was a great year overall because we are still higher. We're still higher. Obviously, there was a lot of people who had to realize that things just don't go straight up. They need to consolidate. That's kind of what it's doing now. I mean, if I told, January 1st of 2021, if I said, a year later, we're at 37, 38K, I'd say that's pretty good. That's
Mm-hmm.
pretty good. I'd ask you, hey, are we above 20K? Because we've been around so long enough, Burb, that like 20K was that big level that, obviously we don't want to go and test it now. But, for me, it's like above 20K, I'm not really worrying. Above 30K, I think we're looking strong. And then from there, it's just a bonus. Obviously, I'd love to be above 40K, and we can talk about that on the chart, why that was such a significant level, horizontal zone rather.
Yeah.
But it was a big year. We learned a lot, and we're still grinding, baby.
Yeah. Before we actually, pull up some, some charts
Mhm.
for to discuss through, I'm super curious, and I'm pretty sure our listeners are also curious, on the overall take, because you were saying 2021 was great. For me, it was also great for many reasons, but I'm super interested also because, 2021 eventually, if you look at it from the crypto perspective, but also outside crypto, it was sort of like range for most of the time, right? The
Yeah.
dominant market, trajectory direction was kind of like, just like make it seem like there was no direction. Did you feel the same way?
I mean, there were times when it felt I remember, man, on that climb to 68K. And I think like at like 56. So I'm thinking, I'm thinking back here, maybe like February, right?
Mm,
And we're at 45K, we're at 50K. And I kept thinking like there's no way it can go higher. And then
mm.
it went higher. And it was just that moment. And it was in that environment where, I'm like, all right, I love it. And you just start to almost your risk management goes out the window because it's so bullish. And there's those moments with crypto where you better just ride it. You get out of you buy every dip. I mean, EMA 8 on the weekly just kept holding support. So that was that most pure, you know,
Super strong momentum.
oh my God. And we don't get those that often. So when you have it, it's like everyone's a genius, everyone's best friends, we're all gonna make it.
Mm.
And then you have just the huge drawdown, what, 64 to 30. And it's tough emotionally. There's a lot of depression, and people are mad at other people for predictions, and people are mad at themselves for not taking profit. And we break out again, and then we're going to the moon, and then we actually get there. And man, so yeah, it was directionless for a lot of the year, but within that, there was these incredible moments. So it was such an emotionally volatile year. Um, hopefully we learned, and we're still here,
Mm.
and like trading survival. So if you're still here, you still have money in your account, and you're still trading. Hopefully you've learned, and you can kind of take advantage of maybe the next opportunity, or maybe look for opportunity here, perhaps. So yeah,
True.
sideways, but within that, man, what a ride, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm actually having, quite similar take on that. Uh, with regards to 2022,
Yeah.
like before we press the recording on, I literally said, the time flies so fast, and it is so true. We are literally nearing the end of January. Like the
Oh
first
my
month
God.
literally just blew up like it's nothing.
Yeah.
2022. How's been 2022 to date to you for you?
Ooh, 2022 to date. So, I mean, I came in with pretty good momentum because I pretty well anticipated the top. But then I think I started to really look for a bottom at 40K. And when that didn't
Mm,
happen, I started to say, okay, I really don't know what's happening. So like I came into it feeling like I knew exactly what was happening. And as we've kind of not necessarily bottomed right at 40K, I'm back to maybe a more honest standpoint where I'm like, all right, I'm really just going to watch. I'm looking for some clear signals. And yeah, I'm really confident still, but Bitcoin, I don't know if we're bottoming. So maybe I'm a little scared. I'm excited. I'm everything. I came in with incredible momentum, and it's kind of cut me back down a little bit. I'll tell you that much.
it always happens, right? It does
Yeah.
always happen.
Yeah.
After a series, of wins, you always need to eventually like screw up somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Mainly
Oh
because
yeah.
of not really paying enough of attention, or just kind of like loosening your risk management. It always happens. It always
Oh yeah.
happens. And then it's actually a huge art, eventually a huge deal of experience that you need to have, and then be able to apply that well, not to screw it up, even further, right? Because
Mm.
then the entire start series of the revenge trading starts, the
Ugh.
biases start working even stronger. So that's most strongly. So that is pretty wild. But having all that, behind us already, 2021, 2022, in the first as the first month, almost there's a couple of days more.
Yeah.
But if we were to kind of like kind of like switch to, well, your expectations, if you have any, well, specifically for the month
Hmm.
ahead to start with, do you have any
Hmm.
clear expectations for February?
Not really. Not really. I really not. I mean, we'll get into it later, but I feel like we're in a relief bounce. I still kind of think maybe we hit 40K, so I still think we got a little bullish juice, but the market's vulnerable, so it could flush further. All great uptrends consolidate and then reach a point where you're kind of afraid that that uptrend is going to fail, and we kind of could really just be at it. Weekly chart
Mhm.
obviously is incredibly bullish, but we're at the lower Bollinger, and that's a point where either you're going to get a great kind of dip in an uptrend, or you're really going to start to break down. And so we're kind of at
Mhm.
such a really clear pivot level. Below 40K is risk off. In
Mhm.
my opinion, risk off. But you step back, you're like, all right, like we're looking great. We're above these prior highs. We're still above the weekly 200. Like next month, I try not to do that because unless there's a really clear signal. Next month, I don't know, man. I'd love to see a bounce maybe to the EMA 8 on the weekly. That's what I'd like to see. But it's really, 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 really unclear right now what's going on. Some of these altcoin charts are breaking down. Some of the really strongest market participants, even the ones with relative strength, like Luna, It's breaking down. So the market's transitioning. I think you need to be agile right now. And I think like predicting is going to be not your best move right now, for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's actually, um, I personally believe it's very true for what you're saying. What I, of course, the episode is solely should be solely focused about yourself. So and your takes about the market. For some people, though, I want to just give a quick reference that in terms of range markets, sideways markets that are clearly lacking some sort of like a directional consequence, as in no actual breakout, just breaks out for good. No breakout is remain like consequent in terms of its direction to follow through. And every breakout just keeps failing. Every bullish pattern just keeps breaking down. Every bearish pattern keeps breaking up. This is chaos, right? And just like
Yeah.
Chet said, actually, I very much stand by this. In terms of predictions, it's very very hard to start with to play the range at all because of
Mm,
lack of direction,
yeah.
and pretty much like much more random movements than not, especially in the lower time frames, right? And then secondly, predictions, right? So trading is one thing, predictions are a second thing, and both are difficult in this ranging market.
Yeah.
And while having some narrow scope for 2022 for February,
Mhm.
what about like 2022 as a whole? Do you have some anticipation in terms of some more upsides, downsides, like any
Hmm.
in terms of crypto and other markets too?
Yeah, I really don't. I really don't. I know I'll be here and I'll try to take advantage of it. I'll try to take advantage of like the big fast moves. The worst thing might be kind of a slow, steady market in one direction or another. It doesn't really give you much room to operate.
Hmm.
I'm not a great trader. I'm really good at charting, but I'm a terrible trader. So I like to wait for really big flash moves that
Hmm.
are likely to kind of rebound, and I'll kind of look for that. And absent that, without that kind of drastic volatility, could just be a really tough chop range kind of for the whole year. I think adoption moves forward. That's definitely good. Um, you know, if we go lower, it's still fine too, because you wash out the enthusiasm and you build a
Hmm.
stronger base for the long term. So, I really have no idea for the year. I think hopefully it's volatile, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because well, there is this channel. There is this channel of I think stockcharts.com in general, and this is a like charting platform. I think it was actually founded by John Murphy himself the other day, if I'm not mistaken. Excuse that
Okay.
if it's not true,
Hmm.
but eventually I think there's a CMT called David Keller, right?
Yeah,
David Keller
I know
CMT.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, I personally admire like his works. And while actually having a look at his Twitter, he was referring to entire most recent and most recent transaction of the past weeks, months, days
Hmm.
as very uncertain time, as very uncertain days, very uncertain weeks, very uncertain year. And actually you see that across the markets, right? Just like you were
Yeah.
saying, there's not much reference, to be honest, because the
Mm.
market is swinging back and forth, and it's swinging back and forth with a lot of like very very strange, I should say, violations of economic principles, as in, for instance,
Mm.
the dollar index, piling up like aggressively whenever inflation hits all time high of the course of the past 30, 40 years. So it's very strange, at times to see these potential, colliding like thoughts with regards to strength of dollar, with regards to financial markets as a whole. There's a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Like, do you have any takes in terms of dollar, equity, stocks, like bonds?
God, I'm so bad at that. I'm really, really bad at that stuff. I mean, I know the market's been super frothy, and like everybody knows that the market's been
Yeah.
super frothy. But like, I try to throw it all out the window. This is still like a super strong uptrend, like SPY, for
Mm,
example. And if you just look back, I mean, it took the COVID crash to really dip this deeply below the 200. You
mm,
know, um, for the year, I'm just so terrible, man, at that stuff. I think, it's like volatility headed into U.S. elections. You've got, interest rates have to rise. Um, I just tell, look, I'll go back to what I said earlier. I hope there's some volatility. I just want to play it. I'm
Mm.
really, really bad at predicting. I'm decent at predicting Bitcoin, like okay, maybe, but like equity markets, I'm terrible. So I'm not your guy, not your guy for that, man.
No worries, no worries. Listen. I mean, this is actually, first of all, very, very fair, words. I think, like many of us as traders, as analysts, tend to undergo certain biases when we really think we know the directions, and eventually the market,
Yeah,
of course, just brings some sort of like punishment. So
yeah,
growing up to this level that you can tell that you have no fucking clue is
no
also
clue.
a victory already. So well done on that either way. Next point, actually, that I was about to refer to, that actually somehow connects with the previous thoughts, is well, we've been talking a lot about rate hikes, right?
Mm,
We can discuss it, on like any form you want with regards to uh, like trading approach, for example, right, or analysis approach. Um, usually deflationary times, or at least slowing down inflation, is typically short to medium term, sort of like bearish for stocks, right?
hmm
Which is what you've been seeing in the markets over the past weeks. Netflix being down 50%, tech taking a huge hit per the composite index, right? So it seems that this kind of like thesis is short to maintain so far, but many analysts, tend to really say that this is the end for stocks, as in this is the proper bear market. This time this coming, COVID
hmm
perhaps may have not stopped that, but this time it's
yeah.
coming. Do you have any take on that, perhaps, or do you look at it this way at all?
There's still, there's still a lot of money, Burb. And by the way, thanks for having me. Of course, there's still a lot of money just floating around the system, right? And where's it has to have to go? Like we're all looking for vehicles of speculation. I mean,
Hmm.
we can buy real estate, and that's fine. People buy real estate, and people buy, those nice watches. I see you and your friends, showing on Twitter. There's certain things you can do, but people are looking for vehicles for speculation, right?
Hmm.
And the market's still going to be there. People are still going to play Apple Spy. All those growth names that have just tanked. People will be looking for like that next wave, whatever it is, whether it's EV or just some weird stuff. I'm not good on the FA side, but there's gonna be a lot of action no matter what. Death of stocks, I don't think so. Like the rich got to keep making money, so it's not really about us.
Hmm.
And all we can do is maybe see what they're playing and try to get a little taste, a little piece kind of on the side. And I think there's going to be opportunities for that. I mean, look, 2021 was crazy with crypto. That's what we do. The NFTs,
Hmm.
and DeFi, and Web3, Web6, Web20, like all that crazy new stuff. We're going to see all sorts of really great new innovations, no matter what. So, like, you gotta. We talk about it, right? We talk about risk management. That's what we've studied.
Hmm.
That's what we teach. You survive around long enough to see the rest of the movie, right? We want to see the rest of the movie. There's some, or the play. There's more acts to come in this place. We want to kind of be around to take advantage of it. There's going to be some awesome, really fantastic opportunities, things we can't even imagine. You know, I don't know, maybe Ethereum drops $1,000 in a day. And then, what are you going to want to do? You're going to want to jam that bottom, stuff like that.
Hmm.
We're in crypto, and you get those moments where you're like, oh yeah, that can happen. I'd forgot that it can do that. And then boom. And so who knows when it's coming? Even with equities, that could happen. Nobody really probably saw the COVID bottom coming. I mean, I didn't,
Hmm.
so, things will happen. We want to be ready for it. And I think it'll be great either way.
Yeah, yeah, I actually agree. Well, in terms of uh, well, there's a thing called the hindsight bias. Everything is obvious in the hindsight, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, like when you
Yeah.
look at a chart, you go, "Oh, it was an obvious play, as a resistance. I could have just easily shorted in and made
Yeah.
make a bank, right?"
Right.
But and try to somehow consolate yourself to an extent, and then save the good picture of as a trader, in your mind. But truly speaking, we're only talking about probabilities, right? And both of us being the market, technicians, the technical analysts, we we mainly focus on charts, right?
Yeah.
I've noticed you actually focus much more on the charts than I do. As in, I also usually try to just go slightly beyond the charts, as in look at the fundamentals, and I strong, I do believe that charts are not going to tell you 100% of its complete story. As in, you can never know when the Elon Musk comes out to tweet something bullish or bearish about Bitcoin. Same way
Yeah.
you cannot really you know what Jay Powell is going to actually tell you, right? Because it takes one
Mm,
word to actually just make bots and algos react and smash or
yeah.
crash the market easily. Uh, but do you, because like, I remember us starting this discussion the other day, but do you really believe strongly in the very fundamental law of the technical analysis, as in the price tells a full story, the price discounts everything?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, it's just a question of can the price hint ahead of time? I mean, the price is the answer. It's just a question of how much of a heads up there may or may not be. You pretty well described my view, but I'll be honest and say that if I had as good a macro background as you do, and I've listened to you, I've watched your videos and stuff. Maybe if I had that background, I might incorporate it more. Um,
Mm,
but I don't incorporate it because I don't want to mess it up, brother. I want to just I mean, no matter what, I mean, it's a little it's balancing the technical and it's the theoretical and the practical. I mean, no matter what, yes, you'll see it in the price, but like for example, I took a long on Bitcoin the other night because I like Apple's earnings were good, and I felt like okay, then
mm,
probably the tech will bounce and the market will bounce. So like that's not in the Bitcoin chart, but it's a data point. So I try not to stray away too much, but like for example, what helped me spot the Bitcoin top here in October, November was the ETF. Knowing
yeah.
that was coming, understanding buy the rumor, sell the news. So that's FA. That wasn't like in the chart. Yes, we had great chart signals, the up thrust, the outside bar in the daily chart, all that stuff we talked about. And even like Ethereum running and Litecoin running. That's not in the Bitcoin chart. That's more of kind of almost FA about
Mm,
Bitcoin. But I'm not moved when people tell me about a catalyst. I'm not moved when people tell me about a story. It just literally does nothing for me. I just don't care. It's like if you're right, I'll see it. And then I can observe price and support resistance. And trading is so many ways to screw up. You know this as well as I do. And
mm.
it's like the more complicated you make it, it's like the faster you lose your money. And in the end, if it's you just watch support and resistance, you're like 80% of the way. You know what I mean?
Mm, Yeah, yeah. Actually, I think for many listeners, this is actually this is what they need to hear. I think because eventually, again, you can come up with some sort of like an analysis paralysis where you have so much data
Yeah.
out there, right? There's like on chain, there is sentiment analysis, like
Yeah.
all of these things that happen on the market 24/7, 365, all day long, all night long,
Yeah.
every second, and it's basically like impossible to predict everything to start with. But knowing that TA at least attempts to give you a full picture, it doesn't always give it a full picture in practice, essentially. Because like I said, Elon Musk may uh, just like he tweeted sometime recently, I think, when he says that all his tweets are made on the toilet, right? When he's sitting on the toilet.
Yes.
So he just comes up with some brilliant fucking idea to say, like, post a meme about Bitcoin that literally just liquidates all the longs, all the shorts, like, immediately. You cannot tell that with the charts, right? But
Yeah.
guess what? You don't need to tell that with the charts, because what matters eventually is, well, the statistics, right? It's not about being 100% correct on the predictions, or 100% even the win rate, because that is basically impossible. Occasionally it happens for many markets to have sort of like price shocks, right?
Yeah.
You can have a hurricane that is literally crushing all the crops out there that there are in the on the soybean side, on the like wheats of whatever, right?
Yeah.
And the supply shrinks immediately and the price jumps up, right? But then
Yeah.
the news is kind of like discounted and the price just goes back. And same way for the downside, when you have some sort of like a fake news, or or just for instance the military expansion, war, and president's assassination, you cannot tell that with the charts, but
Yeah.
it's coming eventually, right? So you need
But
to
you could
just kind of
deal with
like
it.
take it aside.
You take
Yeah.
it aside, but it will also, it's more so and sorry to cut you off early, but in my opinion, it's more so, the chart will tell you how to play it after the fact. Like you're talking about
Mm.
Elon's, dropping 2 on the golden throne, and he does his Doge pump, and you
Yeah, I know.
understand you understand that's a pump. That's a pump against the trend. That's a move against the
Yeah,
trend. So as soon as that, when Doge is pumping off of his tweet, you go to the chart, you start looking for a short.
yeah.
Right, because if you want to be, we understand and we teach you buy dips and uptrends and you sell rips and downtrends, and Doge is a downtrend. So, when Doge is bouncing, we're tagging the upper Bollinger here. He did one of these tweets here when Elon tweeted. You start to look for a short. So maybe you can't see it coming, but then the chart maybe gives you the context of how to process the information. And really simply, it should be: is this a move with the trend? Is this a move against the trend? Is this a move that's too fast? That type of thing. And that's how the charts maybe
Mm.
will help you deal with that unpredictability.
True, true, true. I mean, before we actually, started recording, you were also mentioning in the chat, the Apple trades you were taking on the options. Tell me a
Yeah.
little bit. Talk to me about that.
That was a private conversation. No, I'm in Apple right now. I got some Apple longs.
Yeah.
When Apple was up here, everybody wants it, and I try to remember the stuff that I want to buy when it's really hot, and then when it dips a
Mm.
lot, I try to remember, this is a good buy, right? You want to buy
Good
dips and
memory.
uptrends. You want to buy
Good
dips and
memory.
uptrends. I mean, Apple, that's a pretty clean throwback, right? A pretty clean throwback in Apple here, daily chart. Is this daily? Yeah, to the
Yeah.
September highs, low
Beautiful.
November. We broke the 50, and I scale, and we talk about risk management. I'm buying here, but I'm ready to go heavier at the MA 200. Right. I
Mm.
want to buy Apple. I buy Apple to MA 200. I'll start a private group that the only signal is buy Apple at MA 200. Right. And then in 10 years, I'll have the
Do
best
it. Do
performance.
it.
Right. So that's like one of those things where you look at this chart. Right. So are you not buying Apple? Right. I
Uh,
mean, this dip here, what is this? 19 January, it's daily chart, MA 200 daily, MA 200. So I kind of know that I'm targeting that. It's the concept I talk about a lot where, it's a scary market, but if I'm playing something, I might as well be playing Apple. I might as well be playing, I don't even know what's been as strong as Apple, but you want to play the strongest market participants. You want to make it easier on yourself. I lost
mm.
money trying to play ARK, ARKK, which is
Mm.
a reversal. And I broke my rules. I got to stop playing these dumb reversal, plays, trying to guess when the trend's going to reverse. And it goes against all my teaching, right? Trading against the trend. So Apple, I had been targeting, and they had the nice earnings. We had the bounce today, and then it pulled back a little bit. And I say, okay, maybe that's our higher low. Intraday,
Mm.
I added some more exposure on it, and we can, we seem to be pushing higher. Maybe that's good for the market, that type
Mm.
of thing. So
Mm.
that's kind of what I'm doing with Apple. That's my kind of main exposure, maybe to equities right now, or
Mm.
Apple longs.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, we were also. I don't want to just get and reveal all your private secrets.
Yeah,
You told me about VIX as well. Options.
yeah,
Do you want to talk to me about that?
sure. So I'm taking VXX, which is like a derivative of the VIX, which is kind of
Mm.
like oh,
Don't
that's
worry.
my boy Big Jonas. It's just kind of a derivative of the VIX, and it is just a secular downtrend, right? It's just a secular downtrend over time. Like volatility, like what is it for VIX at 32? It's a 2% move in the SPY or something like that.
Mm.
And so it's you don't usually stay. The volatility isn't that elevated. And if this was just not a VIX chart, if this was like whatever you want to call it chart, I have a downtrend that really every time it kind of bounces here to the upper Bollinger MA50 area, it's going to fade. So I've taken some puts with time. March, April, May, June puts. I'm expecting this chart to kind of, go back and resume its trend down. It's just, this is something, it's that concept where if this was flipped upside down, you're buying all these dips, right? You're buying dips, you're buying dips. So I'm playing with the trend. That's my other main exposure, is expecting volatility to unwind here. If, whatever, Russia invades Ukraine and whatever, and we get a spike, I'd add even more puts. I'd expect it to fade because these it took what the COVID thing in March was like the only time it like
Mm.
mega bounced, but look at that, just unwind.
Mm.
So that's kind of what I'm doing. Apple long, VIX puts is kind of my main equity exposure right now.
Okay. Okay, that's quite a food for thought for many, I think. Uh, Fun fact, options. I personally have some basic knowledge in options,
Yeah.
but options is one of the main points I want to actually focus on in terms of the education and actually playing it out in 2022 for my personal plans. And speaking of more personal plans, let's, if you don't mind, switch a little bit, perhaps off of the charts. I'll close it down for now, for a moment, and talk about something that we had not talked about before, which is some of your more private stuff, as in
Hmm.
your hobbies. What are your hobbies, Chats?
What are my hobbies? So, I mean, obviously I watch the charts all day. I'm kind of a loser like that. Um,
aside, markets aside.
right. But like while I'm doing that though, like especially like during the warmer months, I'm gardening a lot. So I have like fruit trees. I have a big garden. We just put up Jonas and he's my good buddy, built a greenhouse. So I'm gonna start stuff in there. So I do kind of landscaping and gardening stuff at my house.
Nice.
Um, May rolls around, I'm fishing. I've got a nice little aluminum boat with a little motor. I'm not going fast, but I get to where I need to be, and I'm fishing as often as much as I can, connecting with nature.
Mm.
So I'd say gardening, fishing, basketball. I have a hoop in my house, and if I'm not sure what to do in a trade, I go outside, shoot a couple jumpers, try to dunk. I come about 3 feet short, hit my head on the rim. But no, so basketball, gardening. I love video games too. So those
Okay.
are kind of my like four, I'd say main hobbies right now.
What do you play? What do you play video games?
For a long time I play like just simulation games where one of them is like called Railway Empire, and you just manage like cities and move goods around and try to like it's just like a sim game.
There's a truck simulator too.
Yeah, like I couldn't get into that. There's one that was called like a hospital game where you like you manage a hospital. So like I like stuff like that, but now I'm playing something called New World, which is basically like World of
Okay.
Warcraft. It's on Steam,
Okay.
and I'm grinding. I'm up to level like 32, whatever, So
Do
I'm
those
having
guys out
fun.
there do those guys out there know that they're talking to such a legend as yourself?
Please. I'm a noob in that game. It doesn't matter if you're legend one place. I am a noob in that game. I have no idea what I'm doing. So, but I'm having fun, man. I'm just chilling. I'm having fun.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is all about, I mean, it's so, man, I mean, when you are a trader, right? Especially when you're like full-time trader, degenerate trader, literally sitting in a basement all day long or something, you
Yeah.
know, it's so easy to get burned out. It's so
Yeah.
easy to go depressed, and I mean like fucking depressed that you don't want to get
Yeah.
up out of your bed ever again. And I think like connecting with nature, just like you're saying,
Hmm.
is the way out. Like a lot of green. I always, whenever I'm tired on of the charts, and whenever I'm exhausted, mentally, physically, I love personally sailing, for example, right?
Hmm.
I was actually hoping to get a sailing license for the ocean side, for the seas, when you can actually just, go out there in the wild.
Hmm.
It's pretty different game out there though, because of the winds, very strong winds, breezes, because of the waves that literally can consume your entire your entire like boat altogether down to the bottom when they are so strong and big. Uh, and I hoped to get that license somehow around March and April,
Hmm.
because this is basically the weather, for example, to go and hit Croatia for that.
Hmm.
It's quite warm, and they usually have these exams out there, but literally, I swear to God, like sailing helps to ease my mind so well, right? Same
100%.
same to your gardening, because you were saying fishing. Do you wake up literally like all those professional fishermen, like 5 4 a.m., something like that?
If I'm like, so if I like, say I rent an Airbnb or something, I'm there with my friends
Oh,
and we have the boat, definitely. I mean, early morning fishing.
oh.
And it's time of year too. I mean, the best fishing, May and June, and then maybe like September. Yes. And so what we do, with trading, it's synthetic, and it's one of the things where I'm sure you've talked about this, and I talk about it too with my team. Is like you don't want to let the trade own you. You want to try to never and risk more of an amount of money than you can walk away from.
Hmm.
Right? Don't let it own you. If it owns you, like that's a tax. You're paying extra whether you realize it or not. But on, the fishing is great. It's best on low volatility days when nothing's going on. Sailing, I assume it's just like that, when you can just kind of go out and catch a good sunset, or just, grab a fish or feel the water, or just somewhere new, hang out with your buddies, a couple beers, maybe,
Mm,
something else. So you're just trying to have a good time out in the water.
mm,
Um, and it's proficiency. It's fun to do something you're good at too. I mean, I'm getting better at fishing, and it's when you make that great cast, or you get that good hook set in the fish, you
mm.
land it, throw it back, move on, and that's what it's all about,
Even about the fishing, you need to talk about throwbacks, pullbacks, and like
Yes.
it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy how this how this actually trading stuff just is absorbed in their real life outside markets. And speaking of that as well,
Yeah.
well, do you have like did you notice, because it is other question that recently your Twitter growth, your Twitter game has been insane, and I hugely I'm hugely happy, and I want to congratulate you on that. You
Thank you.
deserve all the recognition that you're getting, out of question.
Thanks, man.
Have you actually noticed any change? Like, did it impact in any way your life, the way you're living?
A little bit, because yeah, I'm growing like Burb numbers now, 30K a month, which is crazy. Um, I've had to adjust. Like, I've had to tell myself that I don't have to read every notification, and that
Mm,
it's okay to ignore people, even if it's a great question, and I need to not feel bad about it, because it's like every day, three people. It's like, what's an exponential moving average, and
mm,
I can only point people to the tutorial so many times, and I can only answer like, what does relative strength mean? Like, I can only answer it like 3 times a day. Like, after that, I go crazy. So I've had to scale back on my interactions.
mm,
But, I've got Bitcoin Live, so I really kind of like leaned into that, and spent like more time in that. So there's been like an adjustment. I'm kind of expanding YouTube. Maybe that's a way to reach people and kind of give them videos they can watch that are timeless. And that frees up my time. I'll spend an hour in a video, and then I can kind of go leave for a while. It gives people something to chew on. So,
mm,
um, it's, it feels good. It feels good to have kind of like nailed it, right? At least,
mm,
I'm not nailing it here, because I thought we probably would bounce at 40K. So I'll say, I didn't nail it right here, but it feels good to have kind of anticipated the top and have seen that fall through. And I did a lot of like, I got too emotionally involved too, where I'd like when I felt like it was definitely bearish and people were bullish, I like, there was a point where I was like, why am I replying to them on their feed? Like,
mm,
let them live their life, let them live their feed. And it's when it finally broke down, and there was a point where I said, it's not fun to make fun of bulls anymore. I'm not enjoying making fun of bulls anymore, because we had so much bloodshed. It's like, enough is
mm,
enough. So I got emotionally involved, and that was an experience. But now we're through it. I feel like we have a good body of work. I have a good body of work out there. I can be proud of that. But like, what's next? So I want to stay
mm,
vigilant, and I want to kind of pay attention to what's going on. And man, what a ride! I guess that's what I would
mm.
say.
Yeah, yeah, I fully understand and I feel your pains. I mean, that was like for me, because right now it's close to like 640,000 something. I stopped even counting that.
It's crazy.
I mean, there is a point, and that point was similar to me, like approximately around like 200K, just like you were going right now through it. That eventually I kind of like started feeling your physical barriers, right?
Mm,
Just like you were saying, like it starts being impossible to answer and see every single interaction,
yeah.
and I barely can keep up. You're going to have the same with such a strong game that you're having. You're not escaping that, man.
Yeah.
Um, Listen, I think there is like about 5-6 minutes left until we need to start wrapping up the show.
Oh, wow.
But the final dish that I wanted to leave for the very final end, literally, is our famous Litecoin $1,000 bet. Let's talk about a little bit more about that. Do you have your tweet? Do you have your tweets ready to flash? Because
Yeah.
I fairly cannot remember the conditions we
I'm
actually
ready, brother.
agreed
I'm
upon.
ready. I'm
Let me
ready,
let
brother.
me let me show it.
So
Do it.
we have two bets. You put out
Yeah,
this tweet on September 5th. It will be
yeah,
1,000 easily end of year. And I literally thought you were having fun. Like, Altcoin Gordon, who does all that like awesome
yeah, yeah, yeah,
satirical
yeah, yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
I'm like,
Sauces.
Burbs out here, like flossing some good satire. But you were like, let's bet. I was blown away. Like I couldn't believe it. But then, and I said this in our last podcast, because of your experience, and I know you're a really smart guy. It's like, it made me think like, wait a minute, what am I not seeing? But I still, like, my first reaction was, there's just no way he's serious. Like, my mind was like trying to compute it 16 different ways. Is he serious? How could he be serious? And, because we were in that moment, and we'll just quickly do that. And we have the second bet, the other bet, we rolled them in. But we were in that moment on Litecoin and I love trading Litecoin. My watch, there's Litecoin. I love trading Litecoin. Weekly chart, daily chart. So where are we at? That was September. Here we go. Boom,
Such
boom,
a long
boom.
time ago.
Litecoin pump. Litecoin Walmart pump, right? Was back here September 13th. So this was on September 5th. Yeah, this is right before the Litecoin Walmart. It's like right here, right? It was right in this range. And for me, it was like, well, it's still ranging. And he could totally be right, because we were right here. We're like, all right, we could be doing this. And then we break out and whatever. So we're kind of at that point. But I was still thinking to myself, like, I'm not really that excited, because we're kind of still below this. We're still below this. We're still, you know what I mean? And the 200 had rolled over. So it wasn't like, I wasn't like, hey, Litecoin's bullish, I really want to play it. But anyway, so that was my reaction, was like, man, that's some good stuff he's on, or he's being really funny. But you're like $100 in, we're friends, and I don't like money between friends is like not good. It never works out, so $100, like whatever. Right. He said, sure. And then, so that's in September 5th. Right. And then, here we go. October 20th. You were still in Litecoin. We're right here. So we're right in here in Litecoin, and it's still, arguably at that point it was doing, maybe it was doing this, and then it was going to, so it's like, okay. And, my thing was this, Burb. And like, if you were right, I felt like I would know, I might miss like the bottom 10 or 15% of it, but I would be able to catch the meat of the move. If you really were to go to 1,000, I would definitely be long, like over 240 or 230, right? So I would have caught it. But anyway, so then you came out, you're like 1,250, and then you're like, no, 2,000. I'm like, man, like, what are we doing? So let's do another bet. So here we go. Little Cheds, right? Whoever wins, right? So it's basically a $600 bet, and then we got to change our name. So hopefully we got Little Cheds coming up for a week, just a week. Right. And I got you here. I'm down. So basically, me and you will figure out. I think we'll both donate to charity. I think we talked about that.
Yeah.
We'll both figure out charity, and we'll work that out. But this is the thing where you said 2,000, man. I was like, man, he's either brilliant or he's smoking it. So
yeah, that's wild. That's wild. Like in the hindsight, it was I was pretty convinced that the market would already end until the end of the year.
Yeah.
Gauging on the momentum it had, like in October and so on. And I was wrong. I've been you one time you get it, the other time you don't get it.
Yeah.
Of course, I was quite certain. On some occasions, I think you start noticing that as well. I'm not sure I can recommend that to you though. At times, you kind of like get to know what drives people, as in on the engagement side. So these were tiny little bit of the engagements included as well, of course. Because people were engaged back then. This wasn't as nearly ghost town as it is right now.
Yeah.
But I was actually fairly convinced. That provided that, and I was actually making all those. I always, whenever I throw out in the report or just state, perhaps I didn't state it clearly enough, or back then I was just not including that. But eventually, I always say that the predictions can at any time be invalidated by some external factors, as in like military emergencies, like literally Russia, all of a sudden, all over the fucking night, just expanding, their plans to invade Ukraine. And this is something that I had not predicted definitely. Right? I was super wrong about that. I was definitely not seeing, any sort of like those military news coming out into the end of the year. And I think this is where I got it wrong. I did not predicted this unpredictable thing, and I should have definitely assumed. This left this room, for this unpredictability. and that was my bad. I actually, was betting on that, as in I paid, I paid in the losses to the longs.
Yeah.
I was playing, some, I think $20,000 each longs, low leverage 2 3x, something like that. I
Wow.
think they were wiped out on the liquid spikes a couple of times, a couple of weeks ago, when no, it's actually early December, right? The first December crash, I think. This
Yeah.
is the
Here.
time that, yeah, that
Yeah.
it got swept literally out there, I think.
Yeah.
uh and yeah, and that the bet was that I wasn't really using the stop losses because the position size was of my own stop loss, and that was an asymmetric bet where I would get like, 500,000 if I was right about my prediction,
Oh,
and
baby.
20 and lose 20K if I did,
Yeah.
if I was wrong, and I lost it, right?
Yeah.
And I paid the price. I'm also happy to cover for the charity.
Yeah.
Did you have a pick for the charity before we wrap up the
I'd
show?
say probably American Cancer Society would be what I would
Beautiful,
pick, and then you pick yours, and
beautiful.
I'll do your one as well.
I mean, we can actually do that. I mean, I can definitely feel the relationship you may be feeling with those people out there, due to your own history, which you described beautifully, so many times. Um, I'm 100% happy to back it up, man. Anytime.
Can I just, in
Just
your defense, I mean, you talk about
yeah.
asymmetric. That's good. I mean, you lost 20K. Next time you won't. I mean, because classical charting, obviously 3 to 1 is your minimum, but you were probably what, 8, 9, 10 to 1 on your bet,
It
right?
was it was decent bet, yeah. It was decent
Yeah.
bet.
Um, and I get a different style of approach. Like for me, it was like, well, if he's right, I'm going to see it in the chart and I'll get the majority of the move, kind of thing. I actually took a long on Litecoin briefly here on the way down when it kind of recaptured these lows at 145, and then it got stopped out. And now I'm long. I jumped in at 100. I mean, I
Hmm.
sold out around 280. I got my wife in here like no years ago. I got her in at like 300, and she was killing me. And I finally got her out at like 280, and we got her back in, baby, right at 100. So I'm
Hmm.
hoping it holds.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Listen, I mean, I'm happy to admit I was so badly deadly wrong. I couldn't definitely. I did not definitely see, Russia Ukraine tensions coming.
Yeah,
Like those that crash that emission that eventually led us to a place where stocks are like down 30-50%. Some of them. Robinhood is down like fucking 90%. It looks
wow.
like complete shitcoin, but that's that's
Yeah,
that's another topic for an entire episode, I think.
yeah.
And eventually, I was wrong. I will be wrong so many fucking times in my life.
Yes,
From now
yes.
on, I admit that, like literally right away. I will get some right too,
Yeah,
but eventually, it's impossible to always have it 100% right or wrong. I think it's always good to revisit, the bias, have a look in the hindsight, what could have been done better, always to learn from the past mistakes. That's what I'm definitely going to do, and I'm happy. I've paid some prices on cost of my end, and I'm happy to donate the amount that we agreed upon, to, you said, American Cancer Society. Is that right?
yeah, yeah. Definitely.
That is what I'm going to do, everybody. This is my vote. I'll discuss, and I'll make a public, announcement with that. And well, what can I say? It's been a pleasure talking to you, Chats, as my good friend, as a person who I truly admire for the past 15 minutes. We need to wrap up the show, everybody. And well, this has been quite a ride. I love the discussions with you, man. Wholeheartedly, I truly do. And what can I say? Like, big Chats is huge personality in the Twitter space. Amazing growth, amazing predictions. Highly recommended for every resource. This dude shares out there. So for whoever is not following Big Chats on Twitter, make sure actually go ahead and fix that right away. Uh, this is definitely all well deserved to you, Chats. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and generosity of your time. It's been insane pleasure. Thank you for coming over.
Yeah, man, I'm so glad you have me. I watch what you do. I love your activity level. I love the dedication you put into the craft, and I admire that greatly. I love like debating you and arguing with you, because it's professionally fun. And so just cheers and many thanks for a great last few years and many to come.
True, true. Couldn't. couldn't couldn't literally describe it better myself. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, Big Chats has been the guest for today's episode of the Nestro podcast. Thank you so much, and let's roll it to the next one in the next week. Stay safe. God bless. Cheers.